This marks the final week of ReZero Season 3, and with Season 4 in production, hopefully we won't have to wait too long for more. Without further ado, let's get into the end of the season. We pick up where we left off, as Otto and Betty are infuriated about Lei using Rem's memories. After hitting Lei with El Minya, he breaks through, making her use Marak on Otto, floating him up into the air to protect him. She then whispers to him that she has 5 more shots left. She had 6 crystals, one she wants to keep for after the battle, so she has 5 left, so she could use 5 more big spells. As a powerful artificial spirit, she could not take mana from the atmosphere. All she could use was Subaru, and someone suspicious came along and gave her the crystals from episode 1. She wanted to rush to Subaru as soon as possible, but her pride in that role stopped her. Subaru terribly undervalued himself, so if he had willingly left Betty behind, then that meant that he found a way to fight that did not require her. It was vexing, but that meant she was not needed for his current battle, so she had to get the results that would make Subaru proud. She fake casts Al Minya, causing Lei to falter, which lets Gaston and some of the white scales hit him with a pincer attack. Gaston, however, hits his limit with the flow method and collapses, as Lei rattles off more names, licking his palm with delight. Betty casts Ul Minya, collapsing on him. He is, however, totally fine. This doesn't stop her, as she immediately hits him with a Shamak. It only lasted 2 seconds, but that was all they needed, as Felt returns with the meteor, but it doesn't do much because she just kinda smacks him with it. Lei grabs Felt, says her name and licks his hand, but it doesn't work. As Lei recoils from failing to eat Felt's name, Betty lands beside her. She knew she was using the weapon wrong, because it was one she recognized. She cracked 2 more crystals in her cloak and poured an absurd amount of mana into the meteor, blasting Lei away. As she reflects upon the use of the meteor, Betty can only mutter about Mother, and Felt is dumbfounded by its power. Lei was sprawled out on the ground, defeated. We learned from Beatrice that this staff was made to pester a certain dragon, and that it caused him to be on the verge of tears. It was something she heard from the first Roswald, though, who liked to fuck around a troll, so maybe he was just messing around. Dionysus goes to tie up Lei, and blood spurts from his body. Otto's legs were then blown apart, as Lei remarks how troublesome it is for a sister to have such a crude brother. He remarks how clever Felt was for using an alias, but she has no idea what Gluttony is talking about. Otto, through pain, notes the Gluttony they fought is gone, as Gluttony transforms into none other than Rui Arneb, as the 3rd Archbishop of Gluttony appears. Rui pokes at Felt for having a fake name, something Felt again doesn't understand, before remarking that they're going to pull back for today. Brother got his butt kicked, and Big Brother just does whatever she says, and we don't care about gourmet or garbage. A real meal is about who you eat with. Rui then melted into the shadows of the plaza, escaping as the battle wrapped up. Felt not having her name eaten is pretty interesting, and if you're aware of cut content for Season 1, well, it's pretty obvious what happened. If not, you can watch some of my really old cut content videos for Season 1 and 2. We can also finally talk about the last bit of star lore for this season. I considered bringing this up earlier, but I asked novel readers if I was saying too much, and they all agreed I was, so I cut it, but Arneb is a star, or well, was. It was renamed to Alpha Leporis, but it comes from the Arabic word for hair. This establishes a trend here with gluttonies and star names. Rui Arneb representing the Great Rabbits, Lei Botan Kaitos representing the belly of the sea monster or the white whale, and Alfred, the backbone of the serpent or the black serpent, so all 3 gluttonies are tied to the 3 great witch beasts through their star names. We finally get into the epilogue of Arc 5 as the broadcast that Pristella is victorious echoed throughout the city. Super and Amelia were headed somewhere, and he sees that City Hall is completely collapsed, and then citizens begin to pour out. Beatrice then arrives, and Subaru picks her up. He apologizes for causing her so much trouble, and she says that she does mind a bit, so be grateful. He asks if the building was evacuated before she tore it down, and she yells at him for thinking it was her. Then Anastasia arrives saying everyone was moved out first, and he asks if everyone's alright, with a serious look on his face. As a general rule, Subaru was not okay with forming a strategy that was dependent on using his ability to die and come back to a save point, but if there was a time when he might choose to die and go back of his own volition, it would be because of a result he considered unacceptable. And this time, Subaru had steeled himself for that possibility. Anastasia, however, tells him he could take it easy. Everyone made it back without losing anyone. Garfield's ecstatic to see Subaru again, and while celebrating, he gets rolled over by Mimi. During her antics, she rip opens her wound again, so Garfield has to take her to a healer. Emilia comments that Mimi really likes Garfield, and Subaru's like, wait, when did you start noticing relationships like that? He then realizes Otto was here. Apparently he was here the whole time, and Subaru refers to him as a wartime planner, which Otto does not want to be known as. Our attention is directed to the neighboring shelter, which is harboring Sirius Romani Conti. Sirius holds a dark animosity for Betty and Amelia, but none for Subaru, still believing that he is possessed by pedal juice. Betty says this is a waste of time, and Sirius yells at her, threatening to send a pillar of fire up her ass to scorch her and send her to Ode Laguna. Emilia tells everyone to calm down before telling Subaru that this is dangerous, but Subaru still doesn't want to leave, as you don't get the chance to talk to an archbishop every day. Subaru tries to get to the bottom of her and the other archbishop's motivations, but it seems to be for nothing. Sirius has no care for the witch. There's no HQ, there's no leader, it's a complete ragtag of villains. Sirius quickly leans towards Subaru, saying Betelgeuse was swallowed up, and saying he's hopeless without her. Emilia slams her with an ice hammer, and Subaru can't help but reflect on the power of the archbishops. Greed seems like the strongest, but he was too reliant on his power. When it came to strength that wasn't dependent on authorities, the other archbishops were far more challenging than Regulus. Betty then tells them to leave again, and Sirius starts humming. Subaru demands she stop, but Sirius says that she learned that songs are a wonderful thing. He tries to say that what she and Liliana do are different, but Sirius says the same applies to him. Betelgeuse is inside of him. Soul and soul blend, body and body merge. It will take time before that lovely man reaches the surface. Still lying on the ground, she warns Subaru of gluttony. She would hate for him to be forgotten. As they exit, Al says that all it did was put him in a nasty mood, right? Subaru, however, replies that it wasn't useless, and they got something out of her, much to Al's surprise. Bayako says it's time to leave, kind of forcing their hand to leave Al, and Subaru asks what's up. Seems like she hates him. The crystals they came to find, Al brought them to Betty, and Al specifically told her not to ask, and those crystals helped her wake up. Subaru didn't know what to think, and his doubts were focused on how inscrutable Al's actions had been through everything that happened. Honestly, his actions had gone too far. Subaru thinks he'll have to keep his guard up around Al, and Emilia chimes in. She doesn't think Al is a bad person. Despite his suspicious actions, he saved Betty, Otto, and Felt. His actions were undeniably shady, but Subaru could not sense any hostility towards him. In fact, his choices had worked in their favor throughout. We get some dialogue about what to do with the now captured Sin Archbishop of Wrath, as well as the victims of lust. Reinhardt and Felt volunteer to take Sirius to the royal capital, and Emilia freezes the victims of lust to hopefully one day restore them. Subaru notices Julius at a distance and calls out to him, but doesn't really get much of a response. Because he gets ignored, he goes up and kind of chases after him before finding him in this dark building. He tells him that people will worry if he doesn't show his face, as Julius looks back at him, and something feels off about his silent gaze. Julius says that he was looking for someone, and Subaru grabs his shoulder before he can get away, exclaiming that this isn't like him at all. He looked at Subaru in shock, grief, desperation, and a plea of support written all over his face. Subaru, do you remember me? He doesn't understand what he means as Emilia arrives. He tells her that he found Julius, so he's gonna bring him back to talk, and that's when Emilia says it. Julius? Is he a friend of yours? As Subaru experienced an old nightmare once again. You guys will have to listen to me talk about adaptations for about a year, so that must be exciting, but this episode was okay. The pacing was way too fast for my liking, and I feel that it is exemplified by the final scene with Subaru, Emilia, and Julius. Not because that was too fast, but because the episode slowed down to let their faces do the talking instead of speeding to the resolution, and it was fantastic. A very good cliffhanger that I really enjoyed. The scene was executed very well. Besides my usual pacing complaints, the episode looked good as usual, and I really liked the lighting of the atmosphere for the sunrise on Pristella. A solid episode. We have some cuts this episode, but most of them aren't really that egregious. Our first cut is during the Lei fight, and in order to catch Lei off guard, Otto makes use of magic to play a sound behind Lei to make him turn around so that they can catch him off guard. It was really cool, and it's a shame it's gone. The second cut, during the same fight, but when Rui comes out, after Otto's legs are blown open in the novels, Rui creeps up to him and licks the gore of his legs up and down. Very disturbing, but removed for probably that same reason. The owl scene is not really cut, as it is like kind of rearranged. I think some things are gone from it. In the novels, they run into him outside, and he says he was put here to guard the Archbishop by the princess, who he fears more than Sirius, and he cautions Subaru about talking with her because it won't do anything but put him in a bad mood. Just like the anime when they come out, Al points out that's all it did, huh? And Subaru is just like the anime says he got something out of it. In the novels, and maybe it was in the episode, but I missed it because my Japanese is bad, Al also says that Subaru must be on the same wavelength as his Sin Archbishop, something that irritates him and Bayako, which is what causes her to leave in the first place. A very small cut with Emilia, but when Subaru asks if Betty hates Al or something, she initially doesn't want to answer, and Emilia is actually the one who notes that he must have had something to do with her waking up, which is what causes the rest of that dialogue. Unfortunate Emilia competency cut again. The final cut of the episode that is worth talking about is the end of the Sirius scene here. In the novels, she does in fact warn Subaru to be careful around gluttony, but more than that, she explicitly says that if he has the opportunity to kill all of them, if he can, calling them a nuisance, and showing us once more that these guys have no cohesion at all. Now, some people might think that there are more scenes that are cut from Arc 5, and well, it's possible, like stuff related to Anastasia that I won't get into for spoiler reasons, but the ultimate answer is, we don't know. Some of this Arc 5 conclusion stuff is very important, and in my opinion, there's no way to cut it, so it's likely been reshuffled to Season 4, Episode 1, because that used to just be Season 3, Episode 17, before production started to have a lot of issues, so don't go telling your anime-only friends about those cuts just yet, because they might not be cut at all. Now, if you finish Season 3 and you are dying for more ReZero, I got you. If you want to continue the main story, you're gonna have to pick up Volume 20 or the end of Arc 5 because Arc 5 was not concluded in this episode. I would recommend picking it up from the Results of the Battle for Pristella chapter, as the anime does not adapt all of it. If you don't want to read the light novel or can't access it, you can also do the web novel. I would recommend starting it on the Witch Cult translation website from Arc 5, Chapter 74, Fruits of the Battle for Pristella 1. However, do note that the web novel version has many events rearranged, and there will be reveals that have already happened in Chapter 74, or by Chapter 74, that will make no sense to you because you missed it. Of course, I also have my Arc 5 videos from many years ago, however, they're not very good, and not a good replacement for the source material. The same kind of goes for Arc 6, because it isn't until Arc 7 and 8 that I start to turn them into glorified audiobooks for you to experience the story alongside me. This will give you the proper resolution for Arc 5 and lead you to Arc 6. Another option, if you just want to wait for the anime to adapt the main story, is you could start tapping into side stories to give you a better understanding of some of the cast. Witch Cult Translations has a fantastic side story database, but it might be overwhelming if it's your first foray into it. The basic rundown is basically these EX novels here. If you want to dive into the Krush camp, you could read EX1 for Krush and Farah's backstory, as well as EX2, EX3, and EX6 for what the fandom dubs the Eulogy, as it serves as the backstory for Wilhelm and Theresia, which I also have a video on that you can watch and get my own attempt at making it an audiobook. You can read EX4 for some Reinhard, Julius, and Farah's content, as well as stepping foot into another country for the first time. And finally, you can go to EX5 for Priscilla and Aldebaran backstory, which is personally my favorite EX, and I also have a video on all of their side stories. And that's about it. I hope to see you guys around for Season 4. Okay, while editing this video, they actually announced Season 4, so that's cool. Here's some pictures from the teaser, I guess. I guess we'll be seeing that eventually. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, make sure you subscribe for more. You can also check the description down below to become a member, which gives you benefits like early videos, membership badges, and cool custom emotes. You can join the Discord where we talk about Re:Zero, Kagurabachi, Jujutsu Kaisen, and all kind of stuff. Additionally, you can go to the channel store and pick up some awesome stickers made by our channel artist, so you can carry the power of Graphia with you on your water bottle. That's about it though. Thank you for watching. See ya.